What's up, guys and gals? This is Griever back here, bringing you guys another Behind the Bar Reviews that is not a Behind the Bar Reviews for legitimate reasons. This is the chapter review for Chapter 4 of Ayakashi Triangle. And this chapter feels very short, very simple. Compared to the last three chapters where we had quite a bit to talk about, I swear if this was like a lightning round, a speed round, I could get this chapter done in about 3 minutes. But I'm going to try to push it. I'm going to waste your time by rambling on, and we'll just go through it page by page, shall we? I opened up the chapter here, which is something I'll be doing for the next couple of weeks, as I've already explained, because of, yada, 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 basement stuff. So, which is the whole reason I'm not behind the bar. It's the whole reason I don't have a beer, but I'm drinking tea instead. That's delicious. So, this chapter, once again, fan service with a gender bent main character. Okay, yada, yada, yada. It's all good. It's all fine. Keeping the sacred scroll between the cleavage is first and foremost, that would be a smart decision. That would be a smart tactic if Shirogane was not... that cat does not care. That cat snuck up and was like, boom, I'll take it. I don't give a crap if I have to grab a little bit of titty to do it. I do not care. And I'm like, all right, respect this cat. Respect this fat feline because this cat knows where it's at. Either way, little Aristocats, reference there for all you Disney-loving folk. So, either way, the chapter goes on. Simply, the cat, Shirogane is still trying to steal the damn scroll, and Suzu's still texting you guys getting along fine, blah blah blah. It's and so there's just a bit of comedy. This chapter doesn't really, it's mostly fluff so far. This chapter we're starting, this is a setup chapter for what's probably going to go down later in the next few chapters. I'm assuming we're going to have an enemy ninja, probably going to wonder, I can already tell you what this guy or girl is going to be all sort of about, you know what I mean? What we have here is Shirogane and the grandfather talking a lot, saying, they clearly know each other for a very long time, as he is the head of the Kazamaki, clan, right? And he's been that head for a very long time. So, of course, he knows about Shirogane. Shirogane knows about him. So, it's interesting that right off the bat, they kind of talk about, okay, we're going to have the king of the Ayakashi living with us. The king of the yokai is going to live with us. Okay, so we get to see their interaction. He's basically Shirogane basically tells him, you've gotten old or you're retired. He goes Matsuri has taken over for me for stuff. And, but I can't believe we're keeping the king of, the yokai as neither one of them are happy about it. Of course, Matsuri isn't happy about it either, but he promised not to kill him based on what Suzu said and blah, blah, blah. And the grandfather also seems to know here later on in the chapter, also seems to know about the ideology or sort of the budding romance going on between, of course, Suzu and Matsuri, the two main characters sort of idea. And you get the feeling of it here, and we can already tell, the hints that Shirogane is going to warm up to, and eventually, there's probably going to be, if this series is allowed to continue, which, honestly, not the greatest start. Good art, interesting premise, but we really got to start picking up the pace here in the next few chapters. We got to pick up something to latch on to, something concrete. Having this fluff is great, but we can't be taking too long with the fluff, right? Because we're already getting the setup that Shirogane is slowly going to warm up to both Suzu and Matsuri and is going to change his goal at the end or maybe make a noble sacrifice. We're already getting that sort of foreshadowing here in Chapter 4, which is good, but once again, that's really the only thing, assuming the series goes long enough for that to happen for a good payoff. Making the food and all that stuff, but of course it's meant for comedy and everything. Suzu shows up and everything, and they start talking. Suzu, of course, because Matsuri was feeding him sort of leftovers or, an apple core and fish and some cat food or whatever, what have you, some leftovers. Suzu brings some type of a dongo, kibi dongo it's called here. I looked up a recipe online, so, if you've ever seen the Alpha Stigma one, what's that called? The Legend of the Legendary Heroes or something like that? With the eye powers and all that stuff, sort of Naruto, I guess, reminiscent there, but with Reiner Flute and all that stuff, we have a very big dongo fan there, and so here, once again, just another dumpling sort of thing that, I guess Shirogane seems to be head over heels for, really enjoys. It's like, you can't tempt me with these things. And then, it's basically, if Shirogane was a female from Shokugeki no Soma, we'd be seeing a foodgasm right now. A foodgasm would be taking place. These are that damn good, these dongos. So, either way, tries to pass it off and everything, and there's some more comedy and yada yada yada. So Suzu wants everyone to get along and wants them all to be friends, and Matsuri's like, what's going on here? That's just insane. This is the king of the yokai we're talking about. He wants to eat you. If he had his power back, he would eat you. So the grandfather and Matsuri, they talk for a little bit here, saying like, of course you idolized her for a long time, so I understand, and you guys want that relationship to go further, or it can't stay that way forever, sort of idea. Matsuri, of course, very embarrassed and going like, well, what are you talking about idolize? It's like, well, and here's where we get the sort of the background idea. We saw a glimpse of this in the first chapter, but now we're getting the full story, is that, of course, it's sort of, once again, this is where the Shaman King thing really, really comes into play. I'm seeing a lot of references or a lot of, like, nostalgia feeling, the likeness to Shaman King and the backstory of their characters. A little more serious here, because Matsuri might have been from a exorcist type of family, but he was very scared of all the yokai and all the spirits and all the Ayakashi around him. He was always very frightened as a child and told his grandfather, I'm very scared. How come I can see ghosts? I don't want to see them. Now, this is an interesting little bit of knowledge here, is that the grandfather says, you have the potential to exorcise them and you don't want to see them, but Matsuri, you can't show weakness. You can't be crying and be afraid, because they like mischief. If they realize that they are getting to you, if they can get a reaction, make you happy, make you sad, whatever your reaction to them is, they are going to latch on to that and want to keep making you do that. So if you're afraid of them, they're going to keep trying to scare you. Sort of like the difference between like a benevolent spirit and something like the Grudge, which I'm not going to look up an image and stuff because that shit freaks me the hell out. So yeah, they'll come to scare you for fun and all that stuff because they're trickster sort of characters. Now, here's where, when Matsuri first meets Suzu, who a very, very kawaii with her long hair and stuff. I always prefer women with long hair. I mean, the short haircut, the shoulder length, that's okay. It's not a bad look, but yeah, definitely long hair. So she looks kawaii as a child. When they first meet as childhood friends and stuff. And says, wait a minute, you can see them? Oh, don't pick on them so much and stuff. And Matsuri, as the grandfather says, almost idolized her because he had seen them his whole life, and now he finally met another, like, a child around his age, a girl around his own age, that seemed to, like, could see them. They were all around her, surrounding her, and she wasn't bothered by them at all. So that's probably where he started to, because he's thinking to himself, they're acting like she's the boss. Wow, she's so cool. So he idolized her because he realized, okay, maybe Grandpa's right. Like, look at this girl. Look at what she's doing. So that's really nice. Like, we're getting, and I know I'm stretching this out a little bit, but I feel like this is the key thing to take away from this chapter, is the dimension, is the dynamic between these two characters and how they both view each other. She finally had a friend outside of the yokai, of the spirits, of the Ayakashi. She finally found a friend who could also see them and didn't mistreat her and stuff, we know from the first chapter, and all that stuff, like make fun of her for the ghost girl, creepy ghost girl, and all that stuff. But here, we also have from Matsuri's side, he was always very afraid, even though he could see the ghosts, and he didn't want to see them, but now he idolized her, so it was kind of and this is great for a budding romance, and definitely for an everlasting friendship, even if not a romance. Could have been two guys, could have been two girls, not that they can't have romance. I mean, look at the thing of the story here is right now, they're both girls, so that's part of it. But it's just that this could have also did not have to go a romance aspect. This could have also been a very, like, deep bonding friendship, because one, they both think that the other was their sort of, I mean, it's not as dark and dank as a more adult story, but sort of their light in the darkness. They were troubled, they were scared, or they had their own issues, and they each saved each other, sort of unknowingly. And so that's definitely a good, bonding aspect, for two characters to have. It's simple, it works, and now we can fully understand, without having some convoluted, super deep, lengthy backstory with multiple flashback chapters. I mean, we could still flash back to this, but this easily explains why they're best friends, why she takes to him so much, and why he takes to her so much. Simple, easy, love it. Love it when you don't need huge, convoluted, lengthy backstories to make a solid character background. So I really like this. So the grandfather goes on to say here in the chapter, you idolize Suzu. In order to protect her, you would even consider staying a girl forever. So clearly they've informed the grandfather of everything. But I don't think she wants to keep this relationship as it's always been, the idol and her passionate fan. Of course, Matsuri says, I don't know what you're talking about. Now, both the grandfather notices before, but Matsuri also notices somebody watching them. And so quickly, two shurikens, who's there? And so Shirogane and Suzu try to figure out what's wrong. They find bird feathers, but even Shirogane says, no, those aren't bird feathers. Those are the feathers of an Ayakashi, a yokai. And so now we've got another one after Suzu, and that's when the grandfather, more knowledgeable, of course, says, no, that's most likely a familiar. It's possible, and this is going to be interesting. I'm curious if they're going to have the, once again, really getting the Shaman King vibes here. It's like, okay, yeah, there's all these spirits, and some are bad, some are good, but you can make some of them your familiar, or your main ghost, your soul spirit sort of idea. So this is going to be interesting, because the grandfather goes on to say, it's possible this Ayakashi was sent by someone in our same business. So another exorcist type of family sort of idea that is also looking for Shirogane, maybe looking for Suzu, for a number of reasons, of course, but now they've been spying on them. I hope this doesn't complicate matters. So it was a little bird-looking creature, another small one, sort of like a Tengu-looking thing. It doesn't really have the Tengu face, but it's got the wings and the bird aesthetic. So either way, we get the shot here at the end of the chapter, who seems to, I'm not sure if he killed this thing or I mean, it looks all bloody and beaten, so I don't know, but he apparently killed a really dangerous looking one in the background there. I believe this is a guy. It's hard to tell, but I'm assuming this is a guy. And he says, Matsuri Kazumaki. Sounds like I need to put an end to you. So apparently for some reason he's after them. Now maybe it's because he made friends with Shirogane, the evil one, or something like that, or he's trying to keep the power. There could be a number of motivations. This is very much, once again, Shaman King fallback, very much reminding me of Ren. This is reminding me of the character of Ren from Shaman King, or I guess you could use it as a Tien sort of character. Trying to think of other references, but you know what I mean, that dark character in the background who's all about battle, all about vanquishing evil, and no compromise to when these are bad, these are good, and then you have the ones that are kind of like, yeah, there's a gray area, no, black, white, that's what they view. So we'll have to see what goes on next chapter, but I'm looking forward to it, because I think now we're starting to actually go concrete. We've had a bit of fluff. We know what the story is. We've met our characters. We know what they're about. Time to really get into the story and what this story is really going to tell us. So I hope I managed to stretch out this review long enough to be worthy of a YouTube review video. I like to keep my reviews around the 10 to 15 minute mark. Any less, and I feel like, okay, that was a little short. So, but some chapters are going to be like that, So either way, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you've been following the series along with me. I'm once again, the art style is I really enjoy it. I'm really enjoying it. I like the characters so far, so I think we'll have a good time with this series, as long as it stays strong and we can get a more concrete plot line going heading forward. So thanks guys so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. It's always very much appreciated. And this has been Griever with your Behind the Bar reviews. See you back here next time. Drink responsibly. Peace out.